The call came at 6:12 on a Tuesday morning. I was already awake, sitting on the back steps of my small cabin outside Flagstaff, Arizona. The air was thin and cool, pine sap and damp earth. The sun hadn't fully cleared the ridge yet, but the sky was starting to turn that pale blue that comes just before full light. I hadn't slept much. I rarely did anymore. My phone buzzed against the wooden step beside me. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. Then I answered. Mr. Carter? This is Dr. Alina Morell from Phoenix Children's Hospital. I'm calling about your son, Ethan. I sat up straighter. My son. No one had used that word with me in almost 3 years. What happened? I asked. Is he okay? There was a pause, paper shifting on her end. He's been diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. He needs a bone marrow transplant. His mother listed you as a potential donor. I looked out at the mountains while she spoke. The light kept climbing. Birds were starting up in the trees. My ex-wife, Danielle, had spent 3 years telling our boys that I walked away. Danielle had blocked my number, returned letters unopened. Danielle had texted me once after the custody ruling and said the twins were embarrassed to call me their father, and now she had given them my number. I'll be there this afternoon, I said. I didn't ask for details. I ended the call and put the phone face down. Then I went inside, grabbed my keys, and started packing a bag. I'm 43 years old. My name is Ryan Carter. I work as a backcountry guide. I take people out into the desert and up into the mountains for week-long trips. I used to teach high school civics in Scottsdale. Decent salary, clean house, 2-car garage, 2 boys who ran through the hallway every morning like it was a racetrack. That life ended quietly, not with a fight, not with shouting, just paperwork. The drive to Phoenix took a little over 2.5 hours. I kept both hands on the steering wheel. The highway flattened out as I got closer to the city. Dusty billboards, long stretches of tan earth. I didn't stop for coffee. I didn't turn on the radio. Ethan and his brother Lucas were 12 now. The last time I saw them in person, they were 9, standing in the driveway while I loaded a rented truck. Dad, are you coming back tonight? Lucas had asked. Not tonight, I told him. But soon. I believed that when I said it. Phoenix Children's is large, bright glass, long hallways that echo a little more than they should. I followed the signs to oncology. The 4th floor smelled faintly of antiseptic and something sweet. Maybe cafeteria food drifting up through the vents. I gave my name at the desk. The nurse typed for a moment, then looked up at me with a careful expression. Dr. Morell is expecting you, but someone would like to speak with you first. She nodded toward the waiting area. Danielle was sitting there with a paper cup in both hands. She used to sit like that when she was nervous, elbows tucked in, shoulders slightly forward. She looked thinner. When she saw me, she stood up slowly. Ryan. Danielle. We stood there for a few seconds. 3 years of silence in the space between us. Thank you for coming, she said. I know I don't have the right to ask. Where's Ethan? Room 417. He's resting. The chemo makes him exhausted. And Lucas? With my sister. I thought it might be easier if... She stopped. Where do I go for the testing? I asked. She swallowed. 2nd floor, Lab B. Dr. Morell will meet you. She reached out slightly, like she might touch my arm. Then she didn't. Ryan, he needs you. I nodded once. He's needed me for a long time. I didn't wait for her answer. The compatibility test took about an hour. Blood draw, cheek swab, medical history forms. Dr. Morell was efficient, calm, mid-40s maybe, soft voice, steady eye contact. We'll run the panel immediately, she said. We should have preliminary results this afternoon. If I'm a match, I said, we move forward. Yes. There's a short hospital stay involved, some discomfort. I'm fine with that. She studied me for a second. Then she nodded and left the room. I sat in the waiting area afterward. The chairs were firm, vinyl, cool to the touch. A child down the hallway was laughing, then coughing. I watched the clock on the wall move 1 minute at a time. I thought about Ethan's habit of chewing the sleeves of his shirts when he was nervous, about Lucas always lining up his toy cars in perfect rows, about the years I missed. When Dr. Morell came back, Her expression had changed. "Mr. Carter," she said gently, "could you come with me?" She led me down a side hallway into a small conference room. There were two other people inside, an older man in a dark suit and a woman in a white coat reviewing a folder. "Please sit." I did. Dr. Morell folded her hands on the table. "We repeated your compatibility test 3 times to confirm accuracy." I nodded slowly. "And?" I asked. She took a measured breath. "The results show that you are not biologically related to Ethan." The words landed quietly. No echo, no explosion, just stillness. "That's not possible," I said. The woman in the white coat spoke next. "We ran a full genetic panel. There is no paternal DNA match." The older man added, "Based on the markers, we believe you are not biologically related to either twin." The room felt smaller. I placed both palms flat on the table to steady myself. "Neither of them?" I asked. They exchanged a look. "That's correct." There was more. I could tell by the way the folder remained open. "Additionally," the geneticist said carefully, "the analysis indicates the twins are fraternal, not identical. There are markers suggesting they may have different biological fathers." I looked at her. "Different fathers?" "It's rare," she said. "But it does occur." The fluorescent light above us hummed softly. Somewhere down the hall, a cart rolled past. I nodded once. Then I asked the only question that mattered. "Who are they?" They didn't know. And in that quiet conference room, I realized I wasn't just there to donate bone marrow. I was there to uncover something much older. And I hadn't even spoken to Danielle yet. Then I waited. I stayed in that conference room for a while after the doctors left. Not because I needed a dramatic moment. I just needed my body to catch up with what my brain had heard. My hands were still on the table. The surface was laminated and slightly scratched, like someone had tried to clean it too hard too many times. At some point I stood up. My legs worked again. Barely, but they worked. Out in the hall, Dr. Morell was waiting. She didn't rush me. She just walked beside me at an unhurried pace, like she understood that speed didn't help anything right then. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I know this changes more than the transplant." "It changes everything," I said. She nodded. "Right now, the priority is finding a compatible donor. We can begin an expanded search immediately, but the fastest route is usually biological family." "And their mother," I said. "She'll have to tell you." Dr. Morell didn't comment on Danielle. She didn't need to. She only said, "If you want, I can have social work meet with you, or a counselor." "No," I said. "Not right now." She stopped outside the elevators. "Do you want to see Ethan?" I hesitated, just for a moment. Not because I didn't want to, because I did. Because I'd been thinking about it since the call came in. But the question was different now, not simpler. Different. "Yes," I said. "I want to see him." The doors opened on the oncology floor and the sound changed right away. Softer voices, slower footsteps, more pauses in conversation. Danielle was in the waiting area again, sitting with her coffee cup still between her hands. When she saw me, she stood. Her eyes searched my face like she was reading for an answer before I spoke. I didn't give her one. "How is he?" I asked. "He's sleeping," she said. "They adjusted his meds. He was vomiting earlier." I nodded, then walked past her without saying anything else. I didn't do it to punish her. I did it because I didn't trust my voice yet. Room 417 was dim, curtains half drawn. A small monitor glowed near the bed with numbers shifting in calm rhythms. A bag of fluids hung beside him, dripping with steady patience. Ethan looked smaller than I remembered. Not just thinner, younger somehow, like the illness had pulled him back into a version of himself that needed protection. His head was shaved. His skin was pale with a faint gray undertone, but his face was still his eyebrows still angled slightly inward when he slept, the same way they did when he used to concentrate on homework. I stepped closer. The floor beneath my boots had that rubbery hospital texture that grips slightly. I pulled the chair in and sat. I didn't touch him right away. I just watched him breathe. After a minute, I reached out and put my hand over his. His fingers were cool. He didn't wake up, but his hand shifted like he recognized contact on some level. I stayed there until a nurse came in to check his vitals. She glanced at me, then back to the chart. No questions, no judgment, just routine. When she left, I stood and stepped into the hall again. Danielle was still there. We walked to the cafeteria without planning it. It just happened the way old habits sometimes do. Side by side, not close, just moving in the same direction. The cafeteria smelled like fried food and cleaning solution. Overhead lights, hard plastic trays, the normal world operating inside a place where normal wasn't really possible. Danielle sat at a corner table. I sat across from her. She kept her hands wrapped around the cup. Her knuckles looked a little white. "What did they say?" she asked. I watched her for a moment before answering. "They said I'm not a match." She blinked quickly. "Because you're not compatible?" I let the silence sit there long enough that she understood what I was not saying. Her eyes widened slightly. "Ryan, they ran it 3 times, I said. Then they brought in genetics." Danielle's mouth opened, then closed again, like she was deciding what face to wear. I kept my voice even. "They said I'm not biologically related to Ethan. Or Lucas." The cup trembled a little in her hands. She set it down, too carefully, like she didn't trust her grip. "That can't be right," she said. "That's not—" "It's right," I said. "And there's more." She looked at me, her breathing shallow now. "They said the twins are fraternal," I continued, "and that the markers suggest they may have different biological fathers." Her face shifted. Not surprise, not confusion, something else. Recognition. That was when I knew the truth existed somewhere behind her eyes, and it wasn't new. It had been there the whole time. I kept my posture relaxed, shoulders down, hands resting on the table. "Who are they?" I asked. Danielle stared at the table surface as if it might give her an answer she could live with. "It was a long time ago," she said. "It was the month we conceived them," I replied. "That's not a long time ago. That's a specific time." Her jaw tightened. She swallowed. "We were engaged," she said quietly. "You were working late all the time. You were gone, even when you were home." I didn't react. I didn't argue. I didn't correct her version of the past. I just waited. Danielle's eyes filled, but she didn't cry yet. She kept blinking like she could push it back. "It happened twice," she said. Not like a relationship, just mistakes." I nodded once. "Names." She hesitated. I said nothing. Finally, she spoke. "Colin Reeves," she said, "and Jordan Pike." 2 names I had never heard in my life. I repeated them quietly, once, like I was recording them in my head. "Where are they?" I asked. Danielle shook her head. "I don't know. I haven't talked to them in years." "You'll find them," I said. Her eyes lifted to mine. "Ryan, please. Ethan is upstairs. He needs a donor. You can't—" "I'm here," I said. "I showed up. I'm still showing up." She let out a breath that sounded like it hurt. "But I'm not chasing this for you," I continued. "I'm chasing it for him. For both of them. The hospital needs the truth, and they need it fast." Danielle pressed her fingertips to her forehead, as if the pressure might hold her together. "You're going to leave," she said, voice small. I looked at her for a moment, then shook my head. "Not yet," I said. "Not while Ethan is in that bed." She nodded like she couldn't decide if that was comfort or condemnation. I stood up slowly, pushing my chair in with care, no sudden movements, no performance. "Here's what happens," I said. "You contact both men today. If you don't know how, you hire someone who does. The hospital needs testing as soon as possible." Danielle's lips parted. "I don't even know if they'll answer." "That's not the hospital's problem," I said. "And it's not mine." I turned to walk away, then stopped and looked back at her. "And, Danielle," I added, still calm, "Lucas can't hear about any of this from me. That's on you." Her eyes dropped. I left the cafeteria and walked back toward the elevators. Halfway down the corridor, my phone buzzed. A new voicemail notification. No name, no number saved. Just another unknown call waiting in my pocket. I stopped near a window, looked out at the parking garage and the bright Arizona sky, and listened to the message. The voicemail was short. "Ryan, this is Colin Reeves. Danielle contacted me. I just landed in Phoenix for a conference. If what she said is true, we need to talk. I can come to the hospital this afternoon." He left a local number. I stood there by the window for a moment, listening to the city noise filtered through thick glass. Ambulance siren in the distance, a helicopter somewhere overhead. He had just landed. That told me something important. He hadn't ignored the call. I saved the number but didn't return it immediately. Instead, I walked back upstairs to Ethan's room. He was awake this time. His eyes tracked me as I stepped inside. They were clearer than I expected. Tired, but alert. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey, kid." His voice was thinner than I remembered, but it was steady. "Mom said you got tested." "I did." "And?" I pulled the chair closer and sat down. The vinyl creaked under my weight. "I wasn't a match." He watched my face carefully. "Kids always do. They look for the part you're hiding." "Oh," he said. "They're looking for someone else," I added. "Fast." He nodded slowly. Machines hummed around us. The air vent clicked on overhead. "Are you staying?" he asked. "Yes." That answer didn't require hesitation. He relaxed back into the pillow slightly. "I knew you would," he said. That was all. A nurse came in to check his IV line. I stepped back, gave her space. I've always believed in letting professionals do their work without interference. When she left, I leaned forward again. "Lucas coming by today?" I asked. "Maybe," Ethan said. "He's mad at Mom." I didn't ask why. "I miss when we all lived together," he added quietly. I let the silence sit between us. Silence can carry more respect than correction. "I miss parts of it too," I said. "Not all of it. Just parts." Around noon, Danielle texted me. "Colin is coming at 2:30. Jordan hasn't responded yet." I replied with a simple, "I'll be there." No commentary, no blame. Then I went downstairs and asked to speak with Dr. Morell again. She met me in a small consultation room. "I've contacted one potential biological father," I said. "He's arriving this afternoon. The second hasn't responded." Her expression didn't change, but she wrote something down. "We can test him immediately," she said. "Time matters." "I understand." She studied me for a second. "You're handling this very calmly," she observed. "I don't see a benefit in not being calm," I replied. That wasn't bravado. It was logistics. Panic doesn't speed up lab results. At 2:28, I saw him walk in. Colin Reeves, mid-40s, clean haircut, dark suit. The kind of man who looks like he's used to conference rooms and hotel lobbies. He carried himself with confidence, but not arrogance. He spotted Danielle first. Then he saw me. He slowed slightly, recalibrating. "Ryan?" he asked. I nodded. "Colin." We shook hands. Firm, brief, no squeezing. He glanced toward the elevators. "He's upstairs?" "Yes." Danielle stepped forward. "Colin, thank you for coming." He didn't answer her immediately. His focus was shifting between us, assessing the dynamic. "Let's get tested," he said. Efficient. Good. The hospital processed him quickly. Blood draw, swab, forms. While we waited, the three of us sat in the same conference room where my world had quietly rearranged itself 24 hours earlier. Colin leaned back in his chair. Danielle sat stiffly upright. I remained still, hands folded loosely. "You never told me," Colin said finally, looking at Danielle. "I didn't know for sure," she replied. "You didn't want to know," he corrected gently. She didn't argue. I let them speak. This wasn't my argument to manage. After a while, Colin looked at me. "I suspected," he said. When she told me she was pregnant, the timing was close, but then she said it was twins, and you two got married quickly. Yes, I said. He exhaled through his nose. I made an assumption. I nodded once. What do you do now? He asked me. I guide wilderness trips. He seemed surprised by that, but he didn't comment. At 4:17 p.m., Dr. Morell returned. She closed the door behind her. Mr. Reeves, she began, you are a partial match. Danielle inhaled sharply. Colin leaned forward. Not perfect, Dr. Morell continued, but close enough to proceed with a transplant protocol. The room settled. Colin nodded slowly. Okay. Danielle started crying then. Not loud, just steady. When? Colin asked. As soon as possible, Dr. Morell replied. Ethan's counts are dropping. He didn't hesitate. Schedule it. No theatrics, no grand statements, just agreement. I stood up. No one stopped me this time either. In the hallway, I walked to the end where a window overlooked the parking structure. The sun was lower now, shadows longer. Colin's presence solved one problem. It created another. Because now the hospital had what it needed, which meant I needed something different. Clarity. I pulled out my phone and opened a notes document. Step 1, confirm transplant timeline. Step 2, secure legal records, original custody filings, modifications, communications. Step 3, consult a new attorney. Silence had been my posture for 3 years. Now it would become strategy. Behind me, the conference room door opened. Danielle's voice, unsteady, called my name. I turned slowly and waited. Danielle caught up to me near the elevators. Ryan, please don't walk away like that, she said. I'm not walking away, I replied. I'm reorganizing. She looked confused by that. Colin's staying through the procedure, she continued. He agreed. He wants to meet Ethan. That makes sense, I said. She searched my face for anger. For accusation, I didn't give her either. What happens now? She asked. For Ethan? I said. The transplant, recovery, monitoring. And for us? I pressed the elevator button and watched the numbers above the door. For us, I said evenly. We move carefully. The doors opened. Inside the elevator, the hum of the motor filled the small space. Danielle stood beside me, hands clasped tightly in front of her. I never meant for this to explode, she said quietly. I'm sure you didn't, I answered. That wasn't sarcasm. Most people don't plan the long-term consequences of short-term decisions. When we stepped off on the 4th floor, I didn't follow her back to Ethan's room. Instead, I walked toward the hospital administrative offices. Danielle noticed. Where are you going? To request copies, I said. Copies of what? Everything. I meant it. Over the next hour, I spoke with medical records, then with a hospital social worker. Calm voice, direct questions. I requested written confirmation of the genetic findings. I asked about documentation standards for custody-related medical decisions. I confirmed transplant consent requirements, no raised tone, no urgency in my posture, just process. By early evening, I had written confirmation of non-paternity for both boys, documentation noting heteropaternal possibility, preliminary transplant scheduling paperwork, a copy of Colin's donor intake form, contact information for hospital legal liaison. Paper creates structure. Structure creates stability. At 6:10 p.m., I stepped outside into the parking garage and made 3 calls. First call, the county clerk's office in Maricopa. I requested certified copies of the original custody ruling and subsequent modifications. Second call, a private investigator I had once met through a former client, discreet, licensed, methodical. I asked him to locate Jordan Pike. Third call, an attorney referral service. By 7:00 p.m., I had an appointment scheduled for the next morning at 9:30 with a family law attorney named Maria Delgado. I didn't text Danielle about it. There was no need. That night, I checked into a modest hotel 5 minutes from the hospital. Neutral carpeting, clean sheets, the faint smell of industrial detergent. I set my folder on the small desk, opened it, and reviewed each page slowly. 3 years earlier, during the custody hearing, I had walked in believing that truth alone would carry weight. I had been wrong. Truth needs documentation. Truth needs timeline. Truth needs procedural framing. I wrote another list. Step 1, establish parental alienation timeline. Step 2, document medical concealment. Step 3, file for custody modification citing material misrepresentation. No emotion attached to the list, just tasks. At 8:42 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I answered. Ryan Carter? A male voice asked. Yes. This is Jordan Pike. I leaned back in the desk chair. I assume Danielle called you. She did, he said. There was hesitation in his tone. She told me about the leukemia, about the test results. Yes. Silence on the line. I have a family now, Jordan said finally. 2 daughters. I understand. I don't want complications. I'm not calling to complicate your life, I replied. I'm calling because a child may need a donor. He exhaled slowly. I can't promise anything. I'm not asking for promises, I said. I'm asking for a blood test. Another pause. Where? He asked. Phoenix Children's Hospital, Lab B. I'll text you the contact. He agreed to fly in the next morning. When the call ended, I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt order. Back at the hospital, the transplant for Ethan was scheduled for 48 hours later. Colin met Ethan that evening. I stood near the doorway while they spoke. I didn't interrupt. Colin was measured, careful with his words. I'm here to help, he told Ethan. Ethan looked between him and me. You're my biological dad? He asked. Colin nodded once. Ethan absorbed that quietly. Then he looked at me. You're still my dad, he said. Yes, I replied. That was enough. The next morning, I sat in Maria Delgado's office, 2nd floor of a brick building. Clean desk, framed degrees on the wall. She listened without interrupting as I laid out the sequence: divorce, custody loss, blocked communication, medical revelation. When I finished, she folded her hands. This is significant, she said. I assumed so. The court granted full custody based partly on allegations regarding your instability, she continued. Now we have proof of intentional misrepresentation concerning paternity. Yes. And the boys are almost 13? 12. 13 in 4 months. She nodded slowly. Their preferences will soon carry legal weight. I'm aware. Maria leaned back slightly. Here's what we do, she said. We don't react emotionally. We file for modification based on newly discovered evidence. We request immediate mediation, and we prepare documentation showing consistent effort on your part to maintain contact. I handed her copies of returned letters, screenshots of blocked numbers, email records. She studied them carefully. You kept everything, she observed. I don't throw away records. She gave a small, approving nod. Good, she said. That helps. Back at the hospital, Jordan Pike arrived just before noon. He looked younger than I expected. Casual clothes, slightly uneasy posture. He avoided eye contact with Danielle at first. We shook hands, brief, controlled. The lab processed him immediately. By late afternoon, Dr. Morell delivered the result. Mr. Pike is not a suitable donor match, she said. Jordan nodded, relief flickering across his face before he masked it. He offered a short statement about wishing Ethan well, then left within the hour. No confrontation, no scene, just exit, which left Colin and the transplant. 2 days later, the procedure began. I stood beside Ethan's bed as they wheeled him toward the operating suite. He squeezed my hand once. Don't leave, he said. I'm here, I replied. And I was. Outside the operating room, Danielle sat rigid in a plastic chair. Colin stood near the window. I remained still. 3 hours later, Dr. Morell returned. The transplant went smoothly, she said. Now we wait. Waiting is a skill. So I waited. The first 48 hours after the transplant were quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet in a way that makes you listen to every sound. The monitor beeps. The soft roll of carts in the hallway, nurses speaking in low, practiced tones. Colin stayed through the procedure. He sat in the room during recovery, asked appropriate questions, signed the paperwork he needed to sign. He did what was required. He did not try to take space that wasn't his. I respected that. By the third day, Ethan's numbers began to stabilize, not dramatically, just enough for the doctors to say the words, encouraging signs. Danielle cried again when she heard that. Relief this time. I stood near the foot of the bed and let the information settle. Encouraging was good. Encouraging meant time. That afternoon, Maria Delgado called. "We filed this morning," she said. "Motion to modify custody based on newly discovered evidence and documented interference." "How long?" I asked. "Preliminary hearing within 4 weeks, possibly sooner given the medical circumstances." "I'll be ready." She paused. "Ryan, I need to ask something directly. Are you seeking full custody?" I looked through the hospital window at the parking structure below. "No," I said. "I'm seeking stability." She understood the difference. That evening, Lucas came to the hospital. He stood in the doorway of Ethan's room, hands in the pockets of his hoodie. He'd grown taller. His shoulders were broader than I remembered. "Hey," I said. "Hey." He glanced at Colin, then back at me. "Mom told me." I nodded. "All of it?" I asked. "Most of it." Lucas stepped farther into the room. "So you're not biologically—" "No," I said. He absorbed that quietly. Then he shrugged once. "Okay." That was it. No explosion, no accusation, just a recalibration. After a few minutes, he asked, "Are you going to disappear again?" "No." He studied my face carefully. "Even if the court stuff gets messy?" "Yes." He nodded once, like he was checking something off internally. "Good," he said. Later that night, Danielle asked if we could talk privately. We stepped into an empty consultation room down the hall, neutral walls, soft overhead lighting, 2 chairs and a small table. She didn't sit right away. "I know you met with an attorney," she said. "Yes." "You're filing." "Yes." She closed her eyes briefly. "I'm not going to fight it," she said. I didn't respond immediately. "Why?" I asked. She finally sat down across from me. "Because I can't," she said. "Not after this. Not after the genetic report. Not after Ethan asked why you weren't allowed to see them." Her voice stayed low, controlled. There was no performance in it. "I thought I was protecting them," she continued. "After the divorce, I was scared you'd take them away from me, so I made sure you couldn't." "You didn't just protect," I said calmly. "You altered records. You withheld communication. You misrepresented facts in court." She nodded once. She didn't deny it. "I know." Silence filled the room. This was the confrontation, not loud, not dramatic, just reality placed on the table between us. "I'm not trying to take them from you," I said. "I'm trying to make sure they never have to question who's allowed to show up." Danielle's hands were folded tightly in her lap. "I don't know how to fix what I did," she said. "You don't," I replied. "You adjust forward." She looked up. "What does that mean?" "It means transparency, shared schedules, no blocked numbers, no altered narratives." "And if I don't?" I met her eyes evenly. "Then the court defines it for us." She held my gaze for a few seconds, then nodded. "Joint custody," she said quietly. "Equal time." "Yes. And no public destruction?" "I'm not interested in destruction," I said. "I'm interested in structure." She exhaled slowly, almost like something had finally settled inside her. "Okay," she said. The conversation ended there. No hug, no reconciliation speech, just agreement. Over the next week, Ethan continued improving. His white blood cell counts began to climb. The doctors used words like engraftment and positive response. Colin left on the 6th day. Before he went, he pulled me aside in the hallway. "I won't interfere," he said. "I'm available if Ethan ever wants contact, but I know who raised him." I nodded once. "That's fair." He extended his hand. We shook. Brief, no resentment, just acknowledgement. Jordan never returned. Maria called again 2 weeks later. Danielle signed preliminary mediation terms, she said. She's agreeing to joint physical custody, alternating weeks, holidays split. I let that sit for a moment. Is it final? Pending judge approval, but yes, it's effectively settled. The hearing itself was short. Controlled setting, neutral courtroom, no raised voices. The judge reviewed the documentation, genetic confirmation, timeline discrepancies, communication records. He asked Danielle directly, "Do you contest the modification?" "No, Your Honor," she said. He turned to me. "Mr. Carter, are you prepared to resume equal parental responsibilities?" "Yes." He nodded once. Order granted. No gavel slam, no spectacle. Just paperwork signed and filed. Afterward, Danielle and I stood in the hallway outside the courtroom. "We'll need a shared calendar," she said. "I'll send one. We should tell the boys together." Yes. That was it. The shift wasn't loud, but it was permanent. That evening, I drove back to Flagstaff for the first time since the hospital call. The cabin smelled faintly of cedar and dust when I opened the door. I set my folder down on the kitchen table. Then I stood there in the quiet. For 3 years, silence had felt like absence. Now it felt like space, and space can be organized. Sunday evenings have a rhythm now. Around 5:45, I wipe down the kitchen counter, check the shared calendar one more time, and make sure backpacks are zipped. It's not obsessive, it's habit. Order makes transitions smoother. At 6, headlights usually sweep across the gravel outside the cabin. Some weeks the boys leave, some weeks they arrive. Either way, it's calm. Tonight, they're staying. Lucas is at the table, finishing algebra. Ethan is on the couch, one leg tucked under him, scrolling through something and pretending not to be tired. His follow-up scans last month were clear. We don't celebrate those loudly anymore. We just note them. Then we continue. I boil water for tea. The kettle hums softly. The cabin smells faintly of cedar and whatever detergent the boys used on their hoodies. "Dad," Lucas says without looking up, "you ever think about moving back to the city?" "Not right now," I say. He nods like that answer fits. Ethan glances over. "I like it here." "I know," I tell him. I carry my mug to the sink and rinse it when I'm done. Small routines. Wash, dry, put away. 3 years ago, silence in this cabin felt heavy. Now it feels earned. Danielle and I function well enough. We exchange information. We attend school events without tension. She remarried last spring, an accountant, quiet guy. I shook his hand once at a soccer game. It was simple. That's all it needed to be. Colin checks in with Ethan occasionally. Lunch once every couple of months. Nothing intrusive. Jordan never reached back out. Lucas stopped wondering about that. Life didn't return to what it was. It reorganized. There's a difference. Last week, I received a call from someone I hadn't spoken to in years, a former colleague from my teaching days. He said he was going through a custody issue, said he remembered how mine ended. "I don't know where to start," he told me. I gave him Maria's number. Then I told him to keep every document, every message, every timeline. Process matters. After I hang up, I step outside for a minute. The air is cooler now than it was that Tuesday morning when the hospital called. The sky over Flagstaff is wide and steady. No rush in it. From inside, I can hear the boys arguing lightly about whose turn it is to load the dishwasher. I don't interrupt. They'll figure it out. That's the thing I've learned. Fatherhood isn't proven in a courtroom. It isn't defined by DNA percentages. It isn't secured by volume or control. It's repetition. It's steadiness. It's being the person who stays in the room when things get complicated. When the genetic report said I wasn't their biological father, it felt like something had been erased. It wasn't erased. It was clarified. And clarity, while uncomfortable at first, creates cleaner lines. Now, when I look at the old soccer photo on my desk, the one where I'm slightly out of focus in the background, I don't see a lie. I see time invested. And time, unlike biology, compounds. If you've ever had something in your life quietly shift under your feet, you understand that feeling. Sometimes the foundation cracks. Sometimes you rebuild it better. Before we end, I'm curious. Where are you watching from tonight? What city? And what time is it there right now? I read those comments. It's grounding to see how far these stories travel. If this story meant something to you, take a second to like and subscribe. It helps more than you think, and it keeps this space steady. 2 more stories are waiting on your screen now, both about family and both about moments where the truth didn't arrive the way anyone expected. I'll see you in the next one.